Pradip Phanjoubam, one of the senior most editors in Imphal. Appreciate your joining us, Pradip. It seems to me that Manipur is the forgotten state. Very little talk about elections there. It's taking place against the backdrop of violence. We've seen videos even a few days ago coming of people being brutally killed. What's your sense? Can an election in Manipur really be free and fair when there is still so much of violence going on, people still living in relief camps?
Yeah, that is very much the reality here, that there's lots of violence and also lots of enmity between the two different communities. And amidst that, when you hold an election, there's going to be a lot of coercion and a lot of violence, fear. So free and fair election may not be totally possible. But I was also arguing elsewhere how difficult it would be actually to postpone for the elections for 2 seats. Because by the time, if you don't hold it now, you hold it after 2 months, there's going to be a government. And then it's not going to be fair again because the opposition will be fighting whoever is in power. So I think there is a catch-22 situation. You go the other way, that has a catch. You stay here, there's another catch. And so I think there's some bit of compulsion of holding this election now.
But there are many cookie groups that have appealed to publicly boycott the elections, express their anger in the manner in which the situation in Manipur has been handled over the last year. The wounds seem very raw. The Chief Minister says all is under control. Home Minister says situation will improve. But the reality on the ground seems very different. How does one address these concerns?
Yeah, I think the focus has been on the elections only, not the problem here. I think the election itself should have addressed this, that this solution is going to be there. And also in the different manifestos of the different parties, this should have been mentioned. What I see now is that in the manifesto, you're seeing the larger picture only, especially the BJP manifesto, which is talking about the highways and infrastructure. But those larger pictures are okay. But sometimes you have to also be taking care of the short-term kind of emergencies, which is what Manipur is facing at the moment. And as I say, in the long run, we're all dead. So in the short, we have to take care of the short run. You have to be also taking care of the larger picture, okay? But there are very immediate short-term pictures which you can't just right away. And I think that's what's happening in Manipur at the moment. Its trauma is not being seen or understood by the establishment.
But has any effort been made then to use this election to bridge the divide between Meiteis and Kukis, or do you fear that an election of this kind will only exacerbate the divide between the two communities?
I wish the election had addressed this problem, but otherwise, in the civil society, there are people who want this and trying to bridge a gap, but it's not going to be easy. When you are into that conflict and you see casualties, and those casualties are accentuating the angers on both sides, and it's going to continue. So it's going to be difficult, but somebody has to make a beginning. And I wish it was the politicians who are going to do it. But it seems like it's not going to be the case, that in the election manifesto, this thing is not reflected at all. How this problem is going to be solved, it's seen only as a boil, which can be taken care of anytime. It's not seen as a disease which can actually consume the health of that particular community or that particular state. And right now what's happening is Manipur is in that very critical state of illness, which is being neglected, which is being seen as something minor, something which can be taken care of later. And I think this is quite unfortunate.
A final question. There are people who will be voting from relief camps who've suffered enormous loss of lives, property on both sides of this ethnic divide. Do you therefore, looking into the future, see a healing touch at all? Or are we looking at Manipur now caught in an endless trap and cycle of violence, Pradip?
Oh, I don't think anything can be there permanently, but the trauma should be accentuated. There should be efforts to actually control this and also patch up the differences. So many things happen because of misunderstanding. Those things should be cleared. And then, you in a spirit of give and take, you come to a resolution which is acceptable to all. And also, it has to be understood that both the parties fighting have their own insecurities. All those insecurities have to be addressed. We just can't say one side is suffering, the other side is not. As you also suggested, this is the trauma is being faced by both sides, and in that common suffering, I think that redemption should come about. That in the realization of that the same suffering that one party is suffering, the other party is also doing that. If both parties recognize that, I think the reconciliation can come about.
My final question, though, a first step towards reconciliation surely is accountability. There's been so much of violence, and yet so few people have been punished. A zero FIR has just been filed in a case of horrific videos of people being killed, of village defense committee members from the Kuki community recently. Would you agree that an election without accountability and justice will never ensure true peace and reconciliation?
Yeah, that is there. But then in a conflict situation, these kind of things are, I mean, you have the abnormal kind of situation which becomes normal, that you have been seeing all this kind of atrocities on both sides. And then you somehow, you tend to say this is part of life, that kind of thing, which is very unhealthy. People should be coming out and objecting to any kind of atrocities against anybody on either side. And that kind of thing, either because people are a little fearful, or else you are exposed to a violent situation, and then you are party in a sense that you are actually immersed in that situation. You become somehow to be influenced by one side or the other, and I think that's actually a very dangerous thing. And this danger is what should be addressed. And in the elections, people are thinking only of winning the elections and not winning the hearts of and the minds of those people who are actually the victims.
Very well put. Elections are about, for many politicians, only about winning votes, not the hearts and minds of people. Manipur's hearts and minds need to be won, and it's an unfortunate situation that it remains India's forgotten state. Pradip Phanjoubam, for joining me on the show tonight, thank you very much.